Hi, it's Mark Bossert from Top Local Lead Generation. We're here with Mr. Paul Toffoli. He's an award-winning realtor in Vancouver, BC. We're talking about the art of multiple offers. How are you doing today, Paul?
I'm very well, Mark. Thank you. Yourself?
I'm good. So, how do you deal with multiple offers?
So we're looking at it today from the buyer's perspective. Obviously the buyer and the seller have very different perspectives on multiple offers. The the buyers are not very excited about them, and the sellers are extremely excited about them. But we're going to look at it from the buyer's perspective. How do you put yourself in the best position to be successful if you're in a multiple offer or a competing offer situation? And the real estate industry's changed a lot in the last 20 years. It used to be that sellers had to deal with offers one at a time. They couldn't deal with them at the same time. The Real Estate Act has actually changed to allow the sellers to deal with them at the same time, and basically lay them down on a table, put them side by side, and then make a decision as to which one's the best one for their own interests. So as a seller, you have to be much more aggressive with your offer if you're going to be the successful one.
As a
So,
buyer, as
sorry?
a, I think you meant as a buyer you have to be.
Did I say seller?
Yeah.
Okay, yes. As a buyer, you have to be much more aggressive if you're going to be successful. And so, and that's not necessarily just about price, because there's, as we've talked about previously, there's a number of factors that are going to be deciding factors for most sellers. Those may be subjects. So is it subject to a sale? Is it subject to inspection? Is it subject to financing? All these different things. So as a buyer, if you can eliminate the need for those, then that will put you in a better position. People always say, "Wait a minute, I need to have my subject. It's very important." Absolutely, it's very important that you cross the T's and dot the I's. So some of the things that I work with my clients on is, can we do an inspection before we put the offer in? Therefore, we know about the house. We don't have to have that as a subject. Can you work with your mortgage broker or your bank to get all the T's crossed and the I's dotted, so that they will become, or you will be comfortable going in without a financing subject? Things like title search and property disclosure statement, those are very easy to deal with ahead of time. If you own a home, this is tricky. If you have to sell before you buy, that becomes very tricky, and that's a very individual decision that we have to go through the pros and cons of how to deal with that. And that really depends on the market. So as whether it's a very active seller's market, or if it's a buyer's market or a balanced market, there's different strategies. So that talks about the subject side of things. Then other factors: are you flexible on your dates? So I always talk to the seller's realtor. Let's find out what the ideal dates are for the seller. Sometimes they have already bought a property. They have specific dates that they require in order to make it work. Other times they won't have bought yet, so they want longer dates, 3, even 4 months, so that they can take the time and do the home search. Sometimes they're not buying something. They just want the cash as soon as possible. And they may, so maybe 30 days. And they may want to rent back for a period of time, depending on my buyer's position. If they're able to buy the property and rent it back to the seller, or let the seller live there for 30 or 60 days, sometimes that can be a deciding factor. So each specific situation requires proper analysis, and then we go together with our clients and we put the best possible offer in that we can put. Sometimes it's not possible to remove those subjects ahead of time. So we just have to say, this is the best we can do. We're putting our best foot forward. And then always, at the end of the day, money talks. And sellers always look at that dollar figure, and different sellers handle things differently. So what I recommend to my clients is, let's put the best, we look at all the comparables, we look at what the value of the property is in the market, and I tell my clients, let's put a number down on the purchase price that is the highest price that you're comfortable paying, so that if you don't get it, you don't say, "Oh, geez, I would have put a few $1,000s more down if I'd known I would get it." Or on the converse side, if you do get it at that price, you're not saying, "Holy crap! Did I really paid more than I wanted to?" So it's that balancing act, and it's really a gut thing for my clients. What's their comfort level? What do they think is a fair price? And where are they going to feel like they had more to give? And sometimes we only get one chance at it. It really depends on the sellers. The sellers will sometimes come and say, and you don't necessarily know this before you put your offer in, but we try and find the information out. Sometimes they'll say, one time, best price takes it if everything else is equal. Other times, they'll look at the offers and they'll come back to the strongest one or two and say, you're really close. And often, if they're really close, we'll do this. They'll come back and say, you know what, is this the best you can do? And if everybody says, yeah, that's the best we can do, they'll make a decision. Sometimes people will bump their offer up a little bit. So you really have to be very careful when you're crafting your offers in a multiple offer situation.
Getting all the data, I'm sure, is like knowing who the seller is and what drives their decision to sell, all their circumstances.
Yes.
Just like you said, that seems to be the biggest, at least in my experience, that's the biggest thing to get the best deal possible.
Yeah, asking all the right questions, and it helps too sometimes if you know the agent that they're working with and know how they handle things. So having the experience, and I can't even count how many multiple offers I've done now over the years. I probably have done, wow, it's got to be in the hundreds, and it's always different every time, and it's always interesting.
So how much does it change based on the market? I mean,
It
if it's
absolutely changes. It absolutely changes based on the market. I mean, you tend not to get multiple offers in a buyer's market unless something is really, really well priced. And by well priced, I mean on the low side, where below market value, where you've got a bunch of different people saying this is a great deal. In a balanced market, you'll get it occasionally if that's the case. It's in the seller's market where you really get those multiple offers because there's a lack of supply. There's a bunch of a fair bit of demand, and buyers are motivated to get that one property. So that's where you'll usually see them, is in the seller's markets.
So there you go, folks. If you want somebody to help you deal with the kind of crazy market that we can often have in Vancouver, BC, this is the guy to talk to. A hardened veteran and an award-winning best realtor in Vancouver, voted by the readers of the Georgia Straight, Mr. Paul Toffoli. You can reach him at toffoli.ca or give him a call, 604-787-6963. Thanks, Paul.
Thanks, Mark.